Because we have winter, we have spring.
They always are so surprised. I remember, I think I've told you this story, when a film came into Scout over in Muskegon. And we were standing, it was March, I think, we were standing on the edge of Lake Michigan, and they said, well, where's Milwaukee? And I said, oh, Milwaukee's completely out of sight, gentlemen. It's 70 miles across. They had no idea that the lake was that big.
Right.
They thought it was like a lake.
Right.
So they were stunned they could use it for the ocean, and they did. They used it as the ocean.
Yeah. Now, talk about some of the successes on projects that we're seeing. I know, Gran Torino has gotten a significant amount of play, but there's been a lot of other projects going on.
Gran Torino's gotten the most play because it's Clint Eastwood, because he shot the entire film here, and he spent a great deal of money here, at least a great deal as we've had spent in the past, that's for certain. But there's Whip It, which did shoot up in, I believe they were in Frankfurt as well, and they were in the Birch Run. That's the Drew Barrymore, Ellen Page movie. That'll be out later this year. There's Youth in Revolt, which shot all over the place. They were in Traverse City, absolutely. Right, spent, I think, $38,000 plus at a local hotel, rental cars and so forth, and hired locals. So that was quite exciting for a number of folks. And that'll be out, Youth in Revolt should be out probably late February, early March, I'm guessing. We're waiting to get a release date. Other films, smaller ones perhaps, Ye Old Times, which is a Renaissance comedy with Anne Margaret, Christina Ricci. Wow. Yes, they shot at the Renaissance Fair in Holly.
Oh, my.
It was great. The Renaissance Fair was so cooperative.
Sure.
I was over there one night, took the interns over to see it. It was just wonderful to see all the spirit of cooperation. And then there's Steam, which is a Val Kilmer, Armand Assante movie shot in Grand Rapids. They did a very clever thing, which you might think of in your district, because we don't have a lot of warehouses or stages. They built their sets in the ballrooms at the Amway Grand. I'd never seen that before. Isn't that a good idea? High ceilings. Right. They were able to build a police station and a hospital room.
Wow.
In the ballroom. So the hotel made more money. It was
and
just
so
a
then
win-win.
they had the lodging. They could just show up.
That's where they
go
stayed.
Back up.
Catering could be right there. No worries on traveling. Isn't that brilliant?
Oh, that was amazing.
I didn't even think of it. They thought of it. Can't take any credit. Right. Butterfly Effect 3, I'm sure that youngsters in you, or maybe even the oldsters of the territory, have seen Butterfly 1 with Ashton Kutcher, and then they made a 2, and now a 3. Okay. And that was released as part of a national horror festival a couple of weeks ago, but it hasn't come out in full release yet. I didn't happen to see it, but I didn't go to the horror festival. We've had several television movies. One premiered last Saturday night, Sigourney Weaver, Prayers for Bobby, on Lifetime. It will be repeated. I saw it. It's very nice. Shot in Royal Oak.
Wonderful.
Looks lovely. In February, early February, Cuba Gooding will be on Lifetime with Gifted Hands, the story of the first African-American great heart surgeon, Dr. Ben, sorry I'm forgetting his last name, very famous. They were here for quite a while. Rosie O'Donnell's new film, America, charming script, will be on, I believe, TNT sometime in February, etc. Oh, and an HBO series called Hung will premiere in June. Very clever script. They shot their pilot here.
Wow.
We had 2 pilots that shot here. One picked up, HBO, and another one still waiting, called Prince of Motor City, ABC Disney. Another wonderful script.
Wonderful.
So there's so many.
So we've got, there's been a lot of sort of misinformation out there.
Oh, yes.
Things are going well.
Things are going well.
Okay, so let's
We're not giving away the farm.
Okay.
We are not.
So let's go through this because
right.
I hear this a lot when I'm in my district that so we've had what 31 projects.
Yes.
Not over. There's been hundreds of applications.
Right, over 74 approved. Some of them went away. Some of them are pushing into 09.
Okay.
Yes, but 31 finished their work in 08.
Okay, and let's go through. They get a 40% tax credit, and then
sometimes 30 if they have out-of-state crew. Remember,
right. So let's go through that. First of all, if they hire locals, they get 40%.
Right.
If they go bring it in out of states, they get 30%. If they locate in a core city, they get an additional 2% more. Now, we saw from Michigan State studies that the turn on this is someplace between $2 and $3 in tax benefits back to the local communities, and it's been very successful in the mom and pops and the grocery stores.
Yes, so many success stories.
Wonderful as far as things going on. Now, let's go through the audit. Now, this has to go through a full Treasury audit, doesn't it?
No.
How does it work?
The way it works when they're done shooting in Michigan, they pull the post-production certificate, request for a certificate, off our website, and then they fill that out with the help of their certified public accountant. They have to have what I call a simple audit, what I think is officially called agreed upon procedures.
Very good.
And they do that. That's at their expense. And that's not deductible either under the incentive. And they have their simple audit done, and then they send the paperwork to the film office. And we now have a production accountant there, Lamont Bell, which is such a
That's
joy.
wonderful.
Yes, I'm so lucky. And Lamont goes through everything and decides whether or not what they're doing, anything that looks suspicious. If there is, we call immediately. And we have lots of conversations with auditors. And then I'm the sign-off at the end of the day on those production certificates. Film commissioner is, rather, and that's me. And once they have the certificate in hand, and all those projects do now, Treasury doesn't look at it at this end. They look at it at the beginning with us.
Very good. Okay.
Then they have an option. The filmmakers, documentary makers, film, television can take the certificate, fill out a Michigan business tax return this month, or whenever their fiscal year ends, and attach the certificate to that, and they are entitled to, with no problems from Treasury, and I don't expect any, a check for the full amount of their incentive. Or, if they don't want to do that and they're in a hurry, they film sometime in the middle of the year or something, they may sell it. It's called a refundable tax credit. And we already have a couple of Michigan businesses, large ones, who've stepped up to the plate with great interest in buying the credits. They bought one for one film already, and they're paying, I believe, 88 cents on the dollar, which is excellent.
It's a great deal because
yes,
the film company can get their money up
early,
and then
they don't have to file
and then the discount.
Michigan business can use that as a credit when they file for their Michigan business tax return. So it works very, very well so far. No one's gotten their money yet. You'll hear nobody's got their money. That's right, because they had to file the Michigan business tax return, and that form has just come out. As you know, the legislature made a number of changes. And so it's out now and on the website, Treasury's website, and all they have to do is fill it out, send it in, and they should be good as gold.
And some of the great stories I've heard about all these extra things, it's being audited, it's being reviewed. And so we're seeing very positive results.
Oh, yes, we study them very closely.
Okay.
Some things may slip through, we know that.
Right.
But we don't expect a lot to, especially with Lamont Bell on the job.
Now, what is the total tax credits you think we've issued so far?
For 2000, it's pretty much final now. For 2008, the maximum that we will pay out is just barely $45 million. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but they've spent over $120 million. So the figures you're hearing some people here or even put out are incorrect.
And then in the turn of the money in that community, I know part of the reason why I became such an advocate at our family's business, you know, a local commercial producer came in and bought 30 Boy Scout uniforms in one afternoon, and it's just absolutely amazing.
You have Rich Brower up there too, and he's a lovely filmmaker. You have a number of people up in the area. Bill Gatner, I think, is retired there, and
I think it was one of Bill's productions that he was doing at General Motors at. And so those were the James, is it James Gartner too?
Oh yes, I'm sorry, I think
James
it is.
Gartner.
Yes,
and so that was the discussion that went on.
And of course, you have Michael Moore. Now he brought. He brought his production company back from New York and has put it in downtown Traverse City because of the incentive.
So
that's a big deal.
Those are good things. So let's talk about this. So we have these incentives. Can you give me some examples? We've got Mr. Moore setting his organization up. And then I know that there's a couple other production companies that are looking at large facilities as far as in the Detroit area, or Allen Park, or